The Alpha Sessions with Ron Laver.
I'm very pleased to welcome onto Alpha Sessions today Charlotte Young. She's from Birmingham, and she's been making a bit of a name for herself on country music circles in the last 12 months or so. Hello, Charlotte. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, and it's nice to be chatting to you. Can you tell me, just to kick us off, tell me something about your sort of musical background? You know, when did you start getting into music?
Yeah, sure. So I've always grew up listening to music. I mean, I've come from quite an eclectic background. My dad's a metalhead and an Elvis fan, so that's already an unusual combination. And my mom's a big fan of like the Divas, but also like the Eagles and Soft Cell and all sorts of stuff. And then my sister is a big fan of like 90s grunge and rock and all sorts of things. But she also listened to Shania Twain and stuff growing up too. So for me, it was very much a case of Shania Twain, your Dolly Partons, all that, love that stuff. And then around the age of 13, YouTube was becoming a big thing. Like it was becoming a huge media. And I would just put in a song that I liked and then I would click on the recommended. And that was often people like Carrie Underwood and Taylor Swift. So that's sort of where I got all my inspiration from, what type of stuff I like. And then just kept going down a bit of a rabbit hole and just sung and sung and sung and played and played and played. And then here we are.
When did you then really start singing and in terms of thinking, well, this is something I want to do?
So I think I've always sung, like it's just something I've always done. Whether it was something I was going to do professionally or not, I'm not sure when I came to that decision. But I remember always winding everyone up because I just used to sing nonstop. No one could shut me up. And then I think I kept going through open mics and stuff from the age of 15 or so. And then I hit about 20, 21. And I was like, this is what I meant to do, because every time I went to do something else, music kept pulling me in. Like it was just a case of I would lose my job and I'd be like, well, why has that happened? And then miraculously I'd get an offer to do a gig, or like I'd get an offer to go and record. And I think just somehow this is what I meant to do. So that's what happened, really.
And when did you start recording?
I'm super new, like super, super new. I released Whiplash last March. That was my first ever song that went anywhere. I actually recorded in the summer of 2019, and that was my first EP that I created. And yeah, so I'm super new. I'd never released anything before. And then I released Whiplash, and 2 days later, a national lockdown was imposed. So, yep, that's where we are.
So, but that did very well for you, didn't it? I mean, you got number one on the iTunes country chart with that, and then soon after you released the EP "Blown Away," which had Whiplash on it as one of the tracks, and that also got quite high up. Did it get up to number one on the country album charts?
It certainly did, which still feels like an absolute crazy thing that happened. But yeah, I saw quite a bit of success with the single and the EP, so very excited.
And then Bells and Girls, then soon after that, vote you best newcomer country.
I know.
I mean that's an incredible sort of from zero start, if you like.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm just reading some of the things that have been said about you. Smoky, powerful sounding vocal, diversity in all aspects of her songwriting, definitely to be seen as a connoisseur. We call her the female Luke Combs, and Smethwick probably didn't know what there was that there was this bright shining star in their town. But I mean, you've really hit it, haven't you? And yet you haven't been able to perform to the live public? I mean, I know you've done lots of online stuff, as everyone's doing at the moment. But I mean, prior to that, did you said about gigging? Did you do many gigs?
Yeah, so I've been on and off singing in pubs and clubs since I was 15. I will sing anywhere they will have me. Like, I'm not precious about that at all. I just love to sing to people. And yeah, I sort of started being a bit more regular on the Birmingham scene. Because I've got a lot of friends who work at pubs and stuff, so they would sort me out. They'd be like, right, come and sing, done. And I would have a fair few weekly spots. And that's when things like the recording came into question. And I just felt like I was doing what I loved, because I got to record in the day and then go sing on the night, which was so great. And it's just a shame how everything landed, because I would argue that I could have done a lot more had I been able to tour. I'm still grateful for what I've got, but I could have done more had I been able to go and see people.
So at that point, when you did your first recording, was that something you sorted out yourself, or did someone come along and say, look, I think you've got a good voice, let's go and record you?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I received a message off the producer on the record, literally out of nowhere. I'd never spoken to this person before, and he was like, I think you're really cool, and I'd like you to come down and speak to me about recording. And I was super skeptical, because I am very much a worst case scenario person. And I got there, and it's a beautiful studio, but on the outside, it's in like a industrial park. And I was like, I'm going to die. It's going to kill me. Luckily, that was not the case, as I am here in the flesh, and it's definitely not a killer in any way.
Which studios were they?
It's Puzzle Maker Studios in Bristol. They come first and second.
Danny McMahon's.
That's the one.
Was it Danny that rang you?
It was Danny. He messaged me on Facebook. I have no idea to this day how he found me, because I'd literally never spoken to him before, because I love country music, but I knew nothing about the British scene, like, at all. I knew Ward Thomas and I knew the Shires, and that's about it. Just didn't really know anything. And yeah, he messaged me, and I was like, okay, had a chat with him, and I was like, yeah, this would be a really cool platform to release music. And Danny and Drea Succi basically helped create, in terms of production, the first EP and also the second EP. So yeah.
Well, we've been doing this series of programs, which we usually do in a studio, not online like this, but which you obviously have to done for the last year. But we've been doing it for about 10 years now, 10 or 11 years. And Danny was one of the first country singers. And ever since then, the sort of curve of country artists that we're talking to has really shot up.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would 100% agree with that. I think it's becoming this new thing, this new frontier. And I think it's really becoming something that people take seriously. And I think they're rethinking what they know about country music. Because, I mean, I'm all about the old stuff. I love the old stuff. But I understand why people think it's a bit fuddy-duddy and a bit old-fashioned, and they're sick of hearing the same song over and over again. So I totally get that. But I think people's mindset is changing. And that's really good for people like me who want to do country music. So, yeah.
And I have to say, you've got a real talent for writing some lovely songs.
Thank you.
Both slow and fast-paced, more upbeat ones. And I've been following you over the year in terms of the music you've been putting out, and I've been really impressed by the variety and just the strength of the tracks. Talked a little bit earlier about Whiplash, and that's one of the tracks you're going to play for us today.
That's right.
And this was your first release and your first big number one. Tell us something about the track and where it came from.
Yeah, so Whiplash was written in 20 minutes after a conversation that was a case of my friend. She was sort of seeing the sky at the time, sort of not, but she couldn't make up her mind on what exactly they were, because it was massively unclear what he wanted, right? So 1 minute he was hot, then he was cold. And she turned around to me and she went, I feel like he's giving me whiplash. And I went, hang on a second. And then 20 minutes later, out comes this song that I liked, but I didn't really think much of it because I thought that it was just sort of, I felt like it didn't have an identity. I didn't know what it wanted to sound like. I had no idea. But I'd performed it with my band and my band really liked it. And we took it to Puzzle Maker Studios and we'd pretty much decided the first EP. And then they were like, we need a fourth track. And I was like, cool. Yeah. What about this one? No, not too sure on that one. What about this one? Not too sure on that one. And then I played them Whiplash and they went, that's your single. Like, that's a 10 out of 10. You got to do it. We can help you create the vision for this song. And I knew I wanted it to sound country. I knew it wanted to have like almost like an arena feel, like that's sort of what I wanted for it, but I didn't know how to get there. So thanks to those guys, they basically created what you know as Whiplash today. And all I knew is that I wanted the little breakdown in the last chorus to just be drums and vocals, and that's what you hear at the end. So yeah, that is all about Whiplash. And it's still crazy to me that it's been a year that it's been out now.
Met you on a faded night, people blurry while we're getting high, make your way over a whiskey haze, and I'm far from sober, dancing, crashing, spinning around, ooh, our heads in the clouds, yeah. And that night, it just felt right. But you give me that one last, playing with your name, on hand so fast. Yeah, 1 minute it was perfect, now it's all falling down. Ooh, doing it all and you will and you won't. Can't but you're not going to know. Whiplash happens so soon, too soon, yeah. In the back of my mind, the world stops turning, you'll be by my side. But it don't work that way. You're running forward, and who do we know is gonna keep the score? How many games are you gonna play when it just don't work out that way? But I'm not sure you can fight anymore. Whoa, but you give me that whiplash, play rushing in on hand so fast. Yeah, 1 minute it was perfect, now it's all falling down. Oh, doing it don't, and you will and you won't. Can't you not going to know? Whiplash happens so soon, too soon. But you give me that whiplash, pain rushing in on hand so fast. Yeah, 1 minute it was perfect, now it's all falling down. But you give me that whiplash, pain rushing in on hand so fast. Yeah, 1 minute it was perfect, now it's all falling down. No, doing it don't, and you will and you won't. Can't you not going to know? Whiplash happens so soon, too soon. No, yeah, too soon. No.
The Alpha Sessions with Ron Laver.
So tell me something about the writing process for you? Because I said before we heard the song that I've been really impressed with your writing and
Thank you.
the construction of your songs. So how long have you been writing your own songs? Is that something new, or have you been doing that for years?
Yeah, I've always been writing songs probably since 14, 15, something like that. The reason for that is because I felt that it wasn't weird to do that anymore. The likes of Taylor Swift were huge at this point, and she's a huge inspiration to me. And then you've got your Carole Kings of the world and the Sheryl Crows and this, that, and the other. And I was like, it's not weird to want to say how you feel because these ladies are doing it and they're doing it really well. So why not? And I wrote my first song, which isn't that great. I'm not even going to lie. It's pretty terrible. But you got to start somewhere, right? And I just have a desire to have a beginning and a middle and an end in a song. To me, that's a big sell. Like, I want to hear a story. I want to know how the story starts and how it ends and how I get to the end. So for me, I view myself very much as a vessel for the songs. I feel that I don't do much because I just let them come to me. And if they don't click, they don't click. And I feel that I'm just the person lucky enough to portray these songs. They sort of just come into existence somehow. And I don't force them because if I force them, I feel like they're not authentic. I feel like they're not being told faithfully. And I sort of just, I think about it enough until it works. And that's essentially how they come up. But it is the most unprofessional, scatterbrained way to write a song. But it seems to work. So I'm going with it.
It certainly works. Yeah, absolutely. So do you always write alone?
Mostly. I mean, sometimes I co-write and I like to co-write. It just so happens that everything so far, apart from On the Loose, has been a sole write by myself. But On the Loose was co-written by my guitar player.
Right.
So yeah.
But well, you mentioned on the Loose there, and that is really, it's your current single, isn't it? With Georgia Nevada, the two of you.
That's right.
How did it? So you didn't write it with Georgia.
No.
You wrote it with your guitarist, but how did you get Georgia involved with it?
So I absolutely adore Georgia Nevada. I think she's such a crazy talent. Like, I really like what she does. And we sort of came out around the same time. Like, I released my song in March, she released hers in April or something like that. So we were very close behind each other, really. And we kept getting matched up on live streams. And I remember thinking, I really like this girl. Like, she's really cool. And we started following each other on social media and stuff. And just sent her a message one day. I was like, do you want to sing on this thing with me? And I sent her the track. And she was like, yes, I do want to do that. So she recorded everything remotely. We sent it to Tyler Spicer, who is a magician. He's incredible at what he does. And it just so happened that it worked really well. Like, it just seemed to be a great fit. And it was really cool because I think the benefit of it is that On the Loose was already recorded, but Georgia's vocals were recorded separately and then added in. And it just worked. Like, it was lovely. And she's so cool. So it was a really fun release.
It's a great track. I said to you before, I've been playing it a lot on our country show, and it really is another really well constructed song. Tell us the story On the Loose, because I know it comes from a particular point of view, doesn't it? About women who've been let down one too many times by men.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So this answer is sort of in two parts. So I'll explain the story of how it was created and then the perspective behind it. So the perspective behind it is just as simple as this. I adore country music, but the one thing I've always noticed is that these poor men, it's always their fault. Like, they're always the dirty cheat or this, that, and the other. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. They make great songs. But it's always the way, right? So this guy's done the dirty, or he's not very nice, or he's lied, or he's died, or something like that. So I wanted to change perspective and have a song where the woman's had enough, And she's like, sod it, I'm gonna break some hearts now. Why not? Like, have all power to her, like sort of an empowerment anthem, but sort of tongue-in-cheek, because it shouldn't be taken seriously. I'm not condoning being horrible to people. But it's sort of funny, because if men can sing about it, why can't we? So that's sort of why I wrote it. That's part of the perspective shift behind it. But the actual inspiration for the song, I was in a car with my boyfriend and my drummer, Scott Wesley, and we were driving down the road and just saw an ambulance, and I was like, the blue lights, what if they were chasing us? Blue lights chasing me all over town. And I just had that little line stuck in my head, and I was like, much to think about there. Wrote it down in my phone, and then about 2 days later I called Cara, my guitar player, and I went, come to my house, I have an idea. This was before the pandemic, just to warn everyone. And we sat down with Scott, and we just started throwing ideas back and forth, and the song just pulled itself together within the space of about an hour. Like, it just worked. All I knew is that I wanted the blue light thing to be the chorus, and it grew out of there somehow. And yeah, Carrot contributed some lines, and Scott contributed a couple of lines as well, which was really cool. And it just created this really fun, really silly song that initially I wasn't going to release, because I thought it would suit someone like Miranda Lambert. So I thought perhaps there needs to be an artist with that type of sound to release this song. And yet again, Puzzle Maker went, nope, that's a really good song, you should do it yourself. And I went, fair enough. And then I made the decision with my manager to get Georgia involved. So yeah.
The Alpha Sessions with Ron Laver.
You've got a new EP that's due sometime. Can you give us an
Yes.
indication of when that's likely to be hitting the streets?
It's due in April, but that's all I can confirm for now because we've not made an official statement. But it is coming, and it's coming earlier than people think. I'm just being very sneaky and coy about it, but it is coming, I promise.
Has it got a title?
It does. The EP is called Coffee and Conversations.
Oh, right. Okay. And how many tracks are you having on it?
Okay, I can't give too much away here because I'm terrible for this and I'm always revealing things that I probably shouldn't reveal.
Well, you can. It's all right. I won't tell anybody.
I believe you. I totally believe you. It's technically 5, but it's sort of 4, and it will make sense when it comes out.
Okay. And no track names yet.
So you can expect Praying for Rain and On the Loose to be on there, but not the way you think you're going to hear On the Loose, because I actually have got the original version on there so people can hear the difference more than anything. And so they feel like they're getting another track as well.
Yeah. So that was before Georgia's voice was added.
Yes, BG, before Georgia.
So there's something coming, but you're just keeping it under your hat at the moment.
Yes, I am going to be spreading some breadcrumbs very soon for different things, and I have a surprise planned that I'm not allowed to talk about at all. And I cannot believe I've actually managed to keep this a secret because I'm just terrible like that. But there are things coming. There's something coming just before the EP, which is a secret. And there is an EP. So yeah, I've got a lot of fun things coming and look forward to a lot of clues because I love to do that.
Okay. So we should keep a close eye on all your social media platforms, I suggest.
Yes. And I will say that nothing is on accident.
Right.
That's important because I'm always dropping things that are here and there. Yeah. And I did it for Praying for Rain, and I also did it for On the Loose. And it just drove people mad, and it really entertained me. So I was like, I'm just going to continue doing that.
You just like to toy with us, don't you?
Yeah, I like people guessing and coming up with things, and it's really funny because it's nice to see that people are so invested in what I'm doing that they like to play my little game as well. So it's quite fun.
Okay, how's I mean, you've basically been in lockdown then, pretty much since your record career, your releases started. We've already touched on how frustrating that must be that you can't get out and sing these chart-topping tracks to an adoring audience. But that aside, how have you been keeping yourself sane?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely tricky, isn't it? Because I'm quite lucky, I didn't lose anybody to coronavirus. So I think that's really important. And that makes me very, very grateful. Especially as literally everyone in my family had it. So it's nice to know that they all survived. And I think that's helped because it puts things into perspective for you. But then at the same time, it's been tough because I'm a social person. I love things like this because it's my chance to be face to face with people. But I like to communicate, and I really do miss human interaction. And that's been the hardest part for me because mainly I just want to thank people. I can thank them on a video, but is it as nice as giving them a hug and telling them you're amazing? Thank you for always believing in what I do. I just want the chance to do that. And I miss that I've not been able to do that. And that's the hardest part. But I have been watching a lot of TV. I've been recording. I've been writing. I've been coming up with new ideas that are things that are going to be coming out. I fell down the TikTok hole, as I'm sure everyone else has. So yeah, it's sort of just one of them. I've definitely been coping. It has had its trying moments. I lost a very close friend in September, and that was really difficult. He didn't pass to coronavirus, but it was very unexpected because he's the same age as me and I'm only 24. So it was really, really tough. And that was one of the hardest parts because I hadn't really dealt with grief before. And I lost my grandmother and a very close friend within about 6 months. So it was really tough. But other than that, I count myself quite lucky. And yeah, just grateful to be able to see people again when the government allows. So yeah.
So on that score, is there anything penciled in? Have you been able to make any tentative plans to get back in the studio, get out and to do gigs? Have you got any gigs lined up?
Yeah, so the gigs one is tricky. I was supposed to be doing some shows in April. Obviously, they're not going to be going ahead. And I was supposed to do my first ever EP launch last May, but by the time I'll be able to do it, there'll be 2 EPs out. So who knows? We'll plan a double show or something. I have become very close friends with my friend Tyler Spicer, who I am very much looking forward to working with in terms of production. I'm sort of looking for a slightly different direction at the moment, and I think Tyler's going to be great for that. He's working on something secret for me at the moment. But yeah, so that's basically where we're at. I definitely will be doing gigs. There's some talk of hopefully some international shows as well, with the vaccine and making sure that everything's okay. Hopefully we'll be able to go. But in terms of dates, not yet, because I mean, we've been loath to book anything because we would just have to reschedule if everything doesn't go to plan. But all I'd say is keep a very close eye on me because I'm desperate to tour, so I definitely will be. I just don't know when yet.
Yeah, you've signed up with a promotion touring company to find your gigs, I guess, out in Europe.
Yeah, right. I signed with a Scandinavian agency called Dark Duck, which I think is a great name, number one. But yeah, they're looking to place me in Scandinavia for some tours and some shows, which would be amazing. I've never been to that part of the world, so I'm really looking forward to being able to go there. And also, I've been quite lucky with my support from people in Scandinavia because there's a great lady called Linda who runs Boots of Norway, which is quite popular for country music. And she's amazing. She's done so much for me. She's done loads of radio play and she's a real sweetie. So hopefully I get a chance to meet her as well over there. So yeah, we're doing well, I think.
Sounds like it, yeah. And that sounds very promising for the the coming months and years. Hopefully later this year.
Fingers crossed.
We'll all be out to get outside again. Okay, well look, it's been really nice talking to you. You've got one more track you're going to play for us, which is one of my, and I know I've said this several times, but it's one of my absolute favourites.
Oh, thank you.
Praying for Rain.
Of course, Praying for Rain is a true labour of love in the sense that I wrote the actual chorus, the whole chorus, when I was 15. And I wrote the entire song when I was 15, but I couldn't remember it when it came to doing recording. So I was pretty adamant that I wanted to do something with this song because I was like, what was that chorus I wrote years ago? And I just played it like I'd never forgotten it, but I couldn't remember the verses. So I just created a story. I just built one up in my head. And what's really funny is that the title is actually inspired by a very cheesy TV drama called One Tree Hill. So I loved that show and still love that show. And one of the characters was like, oh, I'm just praying for rain. And I thought that was really deep and really important. So a 15-year-old hormonal teenager was like, let's write Praying for Rain. So it sort of was meant to be a breakup song anyway. But because I forgot the verses, I just invented one. And that's how it came to be. And I was adamant that I wanted it to be a ballad because I feel there's a real gap in the market. I mean, like early 90s, mid 90s, whatever, there was a lot of ballads, I would argue, like your Celine Dion's, your Faith Hill's, all that. But there hasn't been many country ballads very recently. So I was like, well, why don't I do one then? So I did. And that's how we got Praying for Rain.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a sucker for country ballads, I must admit.
Love that. Me too. I
like music that sort of moves your soul,
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. You know, your Trisha Yearwoods and your Leanne Rimeses and all that.
Stir your emotions, and that's good. Yeah. Okay. Just before we go, then, if people want to don't know about you, haven't seen you, I'd be very surprised. But those that you're new to, how can they find you on social media, etc.?
Sure. So you can find me on everything at Charlotte Young Music, or alternatively Charlotte Y Music. I'm Charlotte Young Music on Instagram and Charlotte Y on Twitter, and on TikTok, Charlotte Young, so on and so forth. But I have links on all of them. But if you don't like social media, you can find me on my very own shiny website, which is www.charlotteyoung.co.uk.
Okay, that's great. And maybe when all this is over, we get you down in our studios in London. They're small but small and intimate, I think, is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, let's do it. I love London. That's great.
That's where we started all these sessions. So we, like you, we're hoping to get back to normal soon, and it'd be great sometime to invite you down.
Yeah, definitely. I'm local to Birmingham, so it doesn't take me long to get to London.
No.
It takes me about an hour and a half on the train.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, Charlotte. Good luck with the new EP when it comes. Can't wait to hear some more music from you, and good luck going forward.
Thank you so much. It was lovely meeting you, Ron, and yeah, thanks for the interview. And I'm sorry I was late.
It's no problem at all.
Amazing, but thank you again. I had a great time.
I had nowhere to go.
You were trapped. Like, it's not like I can go for a pint or anything.
No, that's right. Yeah. Okay, take care of yourself, and we'll talk again.
Take care, Ron.
Cheers now. Bye.
See you soon. Bye bye.
Staring at the driveway where you drove away, wondering how we made those same mistakes. Stupid fight, bringing on the lonely night. Sunshine and your kiss won't make me feel right. So just sit here praying for rain, watching